Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MVP Tech Bytes, where we showcase technology by our best of the best MVPs. Today we have Radwan. Radwan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. This is Mohamed Radwan. I am a principal DevOps consultant in the UK, and I have 20 years of experience and the Microsoft MVP for 12 years in a row for Azure DevOps and GitHub.
Cool, amazing. 12 years. That's quite a long time. I was
Yeah,
only 8 years, and you're more than me, sort of thing. So, in
yeah,
any case, today we wanted to talk about Git and stuff. So you want to introduce a little bit of like there's Git, there's GitHub too. Like we wanted to talk more about Git, sort of thing. What can we do? What is Git, and how can we actually use all these branching strategies and everything as a developer? You need to know all that stuff. If you want to introduce that to us.
yeah, sure. So, yes, Azure DevOps and GitHub. Microsoft acquired GitHub in 2018, and it's became part of the development tool. And
Mhm.
since this time, Microsoft building more capabilities around GitHub and also with Azure DevOps to be more like, I will say comprehensive and extensively helping developer to better development around, version control. So Git is all about version control, distributed version control, which hosted by Azure DevOps and GitHub.
Mhm.
And again, it's become dominant now and become, I will say, the most important version control because there is the legacy version control like Team Foundation server version control, like SVN and even, like something very, very legacy. So Git is the future and the modern version control.
So actually, I started with RCS, even older than SVN. So,
Yeah.
like I mean, there's all these like when I hear about people talking about like Git sort of thing, there's this actually underneath there's something called merging and branching. So I wanted to ask you, what are the common known like branch and merge strategies there are for using Git?
Yeah, this is really very important and very good questions. I mean, choosing the branch and merge strategy, it depends on many things, actually. It depends on the cadence of the teams. If they are deploying or releasing every 2 weeks cadence or every day, it's also impacting the testing strategy. For example, how the testing is organized and happened and the practices, it's also impacting the release strategy. And this is
Hmm.
why, choosing the branch and merge strategy is very important because what of the most pitfall that people choosing the branch and merge strategy based on the development but then don't consider the release strategy, the testing strategy, and the cadence, which is not correct. And this is why it's a little bit challenge. I think the most important is to understand that branch and merge strategy, you just need to look at that from several perspective: release strategy, testing strategy, and also the cadence. And there is
Hmm.
no one better than us, better than the other. It's just what are the best that fit with your strategy, other strategies in your organization.
Okay. So, but how do I choose the right one for my project? Basically, if I'm building I don't know, a web application or mobile application, what is the best way for me to choose the right one? Because everybody wants the best. But like, I
Yeah.
mean, what are the ways to actually choose the right branch and a merge strategy for us?
Yes, I will say usually try to ask a question yourself, some questions like, for example, how you would like to release your application,
Hmm.
either 2 weeks or 1 week. Also how the testing is going to happen. For example, are you working with like heavy testing or So it's all about asking this question first, and once you have that, then you can have several. There is many different branch and merge. Like for example, the Git flow that we will explain today in our
Hmm.
demo. There is trunk-based development, feature-based development, branch and merge strategy, release flow or GitHub flow. So there is several well-defined branch and merge strategy. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, great. Like, I mean, I'm really interested. So, since you're talking about demo, it got me excited. So maybe we should move to a demo then.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen then. It's already shared. Okay. Yeah. So I will start my demo with just starting from the beginning, give a graphical presentation about what you will see in the code, so you can understand exactly what are the steps.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to show Git flow branch and merge strategy. So with this Git flow, we start with two branches, what we called long-lived branches. So the main
Okay.
branch or the master branch,
Hmm.
and also the development branch.
Okay.
And there is also what we call short-lived branches,
Hmm.
which are feature, release, hotfix, and we will see that. So let's imagine that we have starting a sprint, and this sprint consists of let's say some user story. Let's say that we have two user stories for
Hmm.
this sprint. The first is a registration user story, and the second is login user story.
Okay.
So I will walk you through how you are going to work with your sprint to deliver these two stories to the end and fixing the bug and so on. Okay, so let's now I create the first developer just creating a feature branch from the
Okay.
development branch,
Hmm.
and this is for the registration, for example. Once they created the feature branch, they start creating some features, they developing, they committing, all this, and now the second developer pick up the second story, which is login, for example, and they
Okay.
start developing that as well. So now developer one completed the first feature, and then they merging back to the development branch, and here
Hmm.
is this is very important, because first, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, the testing strategy. In order to merge this feature to the development branch, I need to run a test, and this is what we called a feature test.
Okay.
So we run the feature test to make sure that this feature is working as expected,
Hmm.
you know and once we are happy with that, we start merging. And of course, once we start the merging, the pull request, this will trigger the CI, a continuous integration pipeline, which validate and verify that this is the quality,
Hmm.
enough to merging that. Uh, the same will happen with the second feature. This is the development branch, and the same will happen with the second feature. Also, the second developer completed the second user story, which is the login, and now
Yeah.
it's merged. So again, now just imagine we completed our sprint, all the user story completed. But now this is exactly what we are going. We tested feature by feature, but
Hmm.
we didn't test the integration between all features.
Yeah.
you know. And this is the next stage in the testing strategy here, working with this Git branch and merge strategy. So what we are going to do is to create what we called a release branch.
Okay.
So yes, you can create it from here. This is for this animation. As you can
Hmm.
see, the release branch is created to isolate isolated all the development branch in a new branch. So
Hmm.
first, I can make integration testing between all the features to make sure that they're working together correctly. The
Okay.
most important part is now I have a separation between the development branch. So the next sprint can start, and I have no problems that new feature. Yeah. Would you like to
So
ask?
I have a question. So sort of thing, like the development branch is going on, and then we have a release branch. But what about the testing? I mean, shouldn't the testing happen before the release branch? I know there's two kinds of testing. One is unit testing, and one is the functional testing sort of thing. Where does testing sit into this kind of development and release branch?
Yes, very good question.
Hmm.
So you have two tests here. First is the feature test, and this is
Hmm.
happen before before merging with the feature branch to the development branch.
Okay.
And we have integration tests that usually happen in the release branch.
Hmm.
You
Okay.
can think also there is an integration test usually happen with every feature increment the development branch.
Okay.
Yeah,
So would I assume that every of those orange points, starting from that orange point, there's some kind of a testing that happens because the feature was developed. Like let's say the first one was login, and then the second one was the registration, or
yeah,
vice versa. And then
yeah.
in there's going to be a testing because it was merged into development branch, and then we actually do the testing. Where it's good now. The other feature came in. Hey, you know what? These two actually goes together. Now we could actually put it into a release branch and do extra kind of functional testing. It could be a UI thing or whatever it is.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm.
And the most important that you complete the functionality, you complete all the user story for the sprint,
Mhm.
from the perspective of the functionality, but you
Mhm.
still would like to run some stability testing.
Yeah.
And this is why you will have this release branch. which will give you ability to now you can start the next sprint even with other teams can start developing,
Yeah.
because this will be isolated in the development branch. If they completed, let's say, another feature, which is, let's say, a shopping cart, for example, this will be
Yeah.
merged to the development, but it will be isolated from our release now, because we in our release we only have the registration and the login.
Yeah. Hmm.
So our mission now is to make sure that registration and login correctly working fine and they are integrated together. And
Okay.
this is the main idea of the release branch. So
Mm.
just imagine that we found the bug, during the stability testing. Yes, we're fixing the bug, we make the commit, and so on. And now everything is fine, everything is okay. We are ready to have our release in production. And this is exactly, we are going to merge the release.
So one question right here. So you said you
Yeah.
found a bug, those three dots. You found the bug and then you fixed it. Do you actually usually fix the bug in the release branch, or do you actually go back to development branch, fix it, and then merge it?
No, I fix it in the release branch
Okay, and then
because
you merge it. You actually merged it into the development branch because you fixed it and then you merged it.
exactly. Just
Yeah.
imagine that there is a bug in the login, which, for
Mhm.
example, if the empty, let's say that if there is an empty string, for example, or text, when you click, this is crash the web.
Yeah.
So you
Mm.
found this bug in the release branch.
Yeah.
So you fix it in the release branch, and now let's say that we completed, we merge it to the master, because now we have our release for production, which will
Yeah.
have our version, and then we bring also this fix to the development branch,
Mm. Yeah.
because you want to fix that for the also the sprint that is already started. Let's say that the next sprint already started and they have more feature, as I mentioned before, the
Mm.
shopping cart, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
so you bring this fix to the development to make sure that you fix the already existing bugs that they didn't discover so far in the development branch.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. So, and just imagine now we found a production bug. Like there is a bug in production, and the customer, that reported a bug. Then what we do is creating a hotfix branch from
Mm.
the main or the master branch.
Okay.
And once we created that, this will have a new branch. And again, I will just fixing the bug. Yes, now I fix it, I try it, I commit my code. Yes, it looks, very good. And then the
Mm.
same, I will merge that. And of course, this will be to the master having a new version, which
Yeah.
using semantic version will be the last one, which will fix to the development branch, because this bugs also, it must exist in the development branch.
Okay.
And that's it. So this will be okay.
So so the green, I remember the green branch that we had for the release sort of thing, that would be actually be stopped sort of thing because it was tagged as in like version 1, for example, and then we don't actually merge it back to that branch. It's just staying at that release. If you need to release that version to another customer or something like that, that was actually like I don't know, it was released or something. So now it's actually more like there was a bug in production, we fixed it, and we merge it back to development, and we continue on because it might be version 1.1 might be coming out later on. Sort of.
Exactly. And this is why the release branch is short lived. We will delete
Mm.
this. The feature
Yeah.
branch is short lived. We will delete that. And if we would like to get exactly the snapshot of our code with this release, we will get with the tag that we will put
Yeah.
it in the, as we saw here, version 1 or version 2 or version 1.1,
Yeah.
based on, the functionality, as we will see in the demo, the actual,
Mm.
Okay, let's now move to Azure DevOps. I will start showing you that in action. So here I
Sure.
will start creating a new project. Just, I will name the project with my branch and merge strategy, GitFlow.
Mm.
And here I will just select basic project. It's not important now. And if I start navigating to the repos where I have my version control,
Mm.
I will just initialize my repo, because this is an empty repo. Initializing the repo will just create a README file
Okay.
template. As you can see, I have only one main branch or master branch.
Mm.
So I will just start clone the repo here. So I will copy this URL and navigate to my local folder where I open Git Bash here and start cloning the remote repo to my local repo. So this will take a snapshot of the remote repo on my local machine.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to authenticate. I created an email for our demo. It will just authenticate my account, and then now I clone the repo. Okay, so just to navigate to the folder, because now GitFlow is a folder, and as you can see, this is the main branch.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say git branch, this will display what are the branches here. So as you see, I only have one branch, which is the main. So I
Yeah.
will start by creating the second branch, which is the development. So I will navigate here to branches. And once I navigate to the branches, I will here type the name of the branch I want to create, which will be the development branch, and it will be based on the main or the master branch, which will be
Okay.
a copy of it. So as you can see now, this branch is created on the remote.
Yeah.
So if I say git pull, this will pull the new branch, and we can see here that the new branch pulled from the remote repo to my local repo. And let's say check out this branch to be the active branch. And as you can see here now, if I say git branch, we can see I have two branches,
Mm-hmm.
dev and main, and the green and with asterisk, this means the active branch right now.
There's nothing that stops you from basically creating a new branch on your local computer and then pushing it over there too, though, right?
Yes, exactly. We can do the vice versa. I create it on the local, push it, or create it in the remote and then pull it. So
Mm,
it's up to you where you would like to do it.
cool.
So yes, I checked out the development branch, and this is the two long-lived branches. And
Hmm.
then let's start our sprint.
Sure.
Uh, so here I will create and check out the first, let's say, a branch, which will be feature one or registration, for example.
Hmm.
So this will create the feature branch and also switch it to the feature branch, which will be the active branch.
Hmm.
And if I say, for example, git branch now to see what are the branches, as you can see, I have now three branches, and the active
Hmm.
branch is the feature one.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to start is to start developing. So imagine I'm the first developer. I start writing the code. I will here just simulation or simulate the code, just write, some text.
Yeah.
This is just the first commit of the feature. I save my code, and then if I start status, git status, we can see that I have untracked file. So
Hmm.
what I need is to stage my file first and then commit. So here I will commit the first change. This is adding the first commit for the feature one.
Hmm.
So now I completed this task. Let's say that I have another task for this feature. Then I start developing more tasks and so on. I save it, and then again, git status. We can see that there is modified file.
Hmm.
So I will stage and then commit. So as you can see, I have multiple commit doing my feature or stories in
Yeah.
order to complete that. Okay, now I completed my story, which is registration, and then I would push that to the remote repo. But first, I need to set the upstream.
Okay.
So yes, here just push and set the upstream for which branch I would like to push. And here will be feature one under the folder of feature, and this is the naming convention of GitFlow.
Hmm.
So as you can see, this is the two branches, and if I refresh now here, we will see that now I have feature one branch inside the feature folder.
Hmm.
Okay, so now I would like to raise a pull request because I completed, the sprint. I'm not going
Yeah.
to simulate the story too, but just,
Hmm.
it will be the same. So now I will go for the pull request. I would like to merge that to the development branch. So when we
Okay.
go to the pull request, we can see here, this is, what I would like to raise the pull request. I can select the branch, which will be the feature one, and
Hmm.
here into which branch. And
Okay.
in this case, we can see that this is the main, but this is not our case. I would like to merge to the development branch.
Hmm.
And here just adding the title, well descriptive title for, the pull request. And also here adding reviewers, if you would like to
Hmm.
add reviewers so they can review, make sure that the code and the convention, the standard for the organization.
And then those reviewers can approve it. Then actually it gets merged into the development branch. They might say that, hey, this is not the right way to call this. There's other ways to do it. So
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Each reviewer will review, maybe like reject the
Mm,
PR with some comments, or maybe even reject it because the CI run and the build fail. So it will automatically like they don't even need to review something that CI already failed.
mm,
So yeah, and we will see that. So as you can see now, there is no merge conflict. I can, of course, as a reviewer, I can start review the changes. Yes, it looks fine for me. This is the two commits we did, and I just approve that
mm,
as a reviewer. Once you approve, it will recorded that here in the history,
mm.
and of course now I'm ready to complete the PR. And here, this is the type of merge, and just to complete the merge. So here, I'm just merging the PR, which is the story one, to
Yeah.
my development branch.
Mm. I've got a question over here, basically.
Yeah.
So what happens is sometimes it's right at this point when you try to merge, there's conflict. So what do you do in these kinds of cases when there's a conflict?
Yes, actually, this is a very good question as well. Once there is a conflict, it means that the ones that raise the PR must save the conflict and come
Mm.
again. So it,
Okay.
it is rejected by natural. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yes. So I don't have to even like even. And this is really very important, because we teach the people how to be culture awareing of this. I mean, no one will tell you, for example, there is a conflict and I will reject that. It's already a
Mm.
conflict.
Yeah.
Please go fix it and bring that. you
Yeah.
know
Cool.
and also and this is usually, I will say, the first step in the CI. So there is a conflict, go and fix the conflict and come again to raise the PR.
Exactly. Mm.
You fix the conflict, there is a CI will run and maybe finds some, let's say, the code is not very high quality code. Then
Yeah.
they will fail the build, and also no one will reject it. But once the build is failed, it means that you go and fix why the build is failed and make the build succeed.
Mm.
Once you do all of that, then the manual reviewer will just also review to make sure that this is why the combination between automation review using the conflict and the CI, and also
Mm.
the human review with the approver.
Yeah.
So, and this is why, yes, usually the reviewer will not look without first no conflict, and also the CI has already passed.
Mm.
Yeah. So now, as you can see, now I merged the PR, everything looked fine, and I completed. Let's say I already did that for story one, story two, story three, and all of that. You
Mm.
know. So now we are ready, to completed all the stories for our sprint, and this is the feature one, all the
Mm.
development, and now we are going to just create, the release. But before the release, you know, as I mentioned, this is a short-lived
Yeah.
branch. So what I'm going to do is, first I need to check out the development branch because I can't delete the branches that I'm active,
Yeah.
and then I will just delete the feature branch because now it's completed. So as you can see,
Mm.
deleted now feature one branch, and then just if I say git branch, we can see that now I just have the develop and the main, which and
Mm.
the develop including the user stories, all the user stories. And now I'm going to pull the changes, you know,
Mm.
the PR, because
Yeah.
the PR on the top, it was merged. So I bring
Mm.
that. So this is why if I start now to check out the development branch, but let's create the release. So now I will create the release branch from the development branch. So again, the release branch is all about running functional test with integration test and stability for
Mm.
our release. And also now, the team can start working on the next sprint. They can start emerging to the development branch, and they
Mm.
will not be a problem for me. So now we can see that I have the three branches, dev, main or master, and release 1.1.
Yeah.
So let's say I found the bug inside the release during the stability. So this is just fixing a bug,
Mm-hmm.
and I will just save this. And then here I will start, just look at the status. I have modified file, so I will stage the file and then commit this fix in the release branch, of course. And then here I will just check out, I'm now ready for, creating the actual release and release to production. So what
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing is going to merge the release branch to the main branch to bring all the new feature and also the bug fix this release to the main branch. So as you can see, I must switch to the master or the main branch first. And as you can see, I only have here, if you can look at here, only the README file, because the
Mm-hmm.
main branch, just with the initialize that we initialized in the beginning. So what I'm going now is to just git merge and start merging the release branch to the current active branch, which is the main.
Mm-hmm.
So now, as you can see now, it brings the development branch with all the feature, with all the stories, and now I have, you know, my release ready. But before doing the actual deployment, I just need to tag my release so I can return to this release at any point of time. And here I will just, you know, just tag with 1.1, and here's the
Mm-hmm.
message of the tag, just a new release. Then if I say git tag -n, this will display all the tags. As you can see, this is the only tag I had.
Yeah.
And then just I'm ready now. So I will push my code to the remote repo. This will push my code, and also I will push my tag as well. So here, this will push the tags. Now I have, as you can
You're
see
still
now,
missing the merge of the
yes,
from the yeah.
yes, for the development, we
Exactly.
now, yes, we merging that to the main branch so we can deploy our application,
Yeah.
but we also will merge that to the development branch to bring this fix to the development. That's correct. You are really following that very correctly. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, exactly. So as you can see here now, if I refresh ports here,
Yeah. You see the fix.
exactly, the fix in production, but it's still not development. And also I
Mm.
have the tag here.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, exactly, I don't have this fix in the development. So what I need to do is to raise a pull request.
Mm.
So yeah, so of course here I will clear and just check out. And here I will check out the development branch and just merge that to the release. Of course, it's up to you. Like you can do that here in the local and
Mm.
push that, or you can raise a pull request to merge that. It's up to you, because once you push that to the remote, it will trigger the CI in any case.
True. True.
Yes. So I merge the release branch to the development branch now to bring the bug fix to the development. So as we can see now, this is the development branch with the bug
Mm.
fix. So if I say branch, yes, we have dev, main, and release 1.1.
Yeah.
And the same, I don't need the release because now it's short-lived. I completed what is created for, so I will
Mm.
delete it. And then here I have the branch, dev, and main. Now I will just push my changes in the development branch. So now if, of course, this is the tags. If I navigate to branches, we can see that development branch now has the fix, as we
Mm.
can see. So I fixed the bug as well in the development branch. And now we found the bug in production. So what we are going to do? So in order, we just need to check out the main branch or the master branch.
Mm.
So here I will check out, you know, first create the hotfix first, and of course I can do it vice versa. Like for example, check out the main, create the branch from the main, or
Mm.
I can do it in one step, which is check out with switch B. I can create the hotfix at the same time and switch out the branch. So here, as you can see, I will create a hotfix from the main branch and switch to this branch.
Mhm.
So the hotfix is created from the main branch. If I list the branches, we can see now the hotfix. So yes, I will start again fixing the bug, which is in production now in this hotfix branch.
Yeah.
Just imagine this is the hotfix code and see my changes, just status and staging, commit that in the hotfix.
Mhm.
Now it's committed. So what I'm doing now is to just merge that. So I will check out the main branch, and this is active branch now. And of course, this I don't have in the main the
Yeah.
production fix yet. So if I start now, say git merge and the hotfix branch, you can see this file is reloaded. Let me close and reopen again. So now I can see now I bring
Mm.
the hotfix to the main branch from the hotfix branch. And of course, as I mentioned, we have to tag it with the correct tag. And in this case, I will just increment the last number, which is the patch number according to the semantic versioning.
Mhm.
And I will push my code and also push my tag. So now I push that to the remote repo. Now I have
Yeah.
these two tags and I managed to push them as well. So if I refresh here, of course, here this is the main. So we can see now the main has the hotfix and I have the two tags.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned before, I still don't have that in the development branch.
Mhm.
So we can see now the hotfix is not fixed yet in the development branch. So I just need to bring that. So again, I will just here pick out the development branch and start merging with the hotfix.
Yeah.
And this is bring all the hotfix to the development branch. And if I say here, let's get push these changes.
Mhm.
And of course, I will delete the hotfix because it's short-lived. Now it's completed. And then just branch here, I have the div and the main, which is long-lived. And if now I start refresh my code, so I managed to bring the hotfix
Mhm.
code to the development branch as well. And of course, here's my tags and everything. Yeah,
Mhm. Sounds
that's
good. This looks good.
yeah,
Thanks. Like this kind of explained the whole graph, like how you actually showed all the dots and then how it connected, fixing the branch. But then again, also at the management of this needs to be very, very clear, sort of thing. So there must be some kind of strategy that you're using that everything has to follow a certain ways, because you could have feature release or even code base that is has two multiple products that are using the main core, but they are two different, like a mobile and a web application, but the core is still stayed in the same, and then they might actually have to merge all those changes. Now, speaking of that, can I create my own branch and merge strategy? Like, I mean, there's all these strategies, but maybe something fits mine. It's not really the Git flow. It's similar, but it's a different way. Would I be able to create all of this stuff?
yes, this is also a very good question. You know, I have seen people try to do that, but I will not encourage doing that because in the end, you will end up with, you know, work around to make exactly as one of the branch and merge. I mean, you know, I have seen people doing a lot of branch and merge strategy, and in the end, they have different names, and they because you know, and this is really very important because branch and merge strategy, I will say it's better to pick one and just
Stick
use
with
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But don't try to do that because it will impact everything. And I have seen many people try to do that, and to be honest, they usually either they have really a big problem and they don't understand why,
Hmm.
and once they try to solve them, then they will find that they end up doing Git flow or release flow. Why didn't pick up from the first? But because they didn't know that this will happen, you know.
Hmm. So in some ways, it's best to actually to design a flow that you're gonna, or pick up the flow that you want and fits
Exactly.
your teams and everything else, and then just stick with it. And in the future, if it needs to be changed, like from Git flow to Git release or whatever it is that you want to, or maybe there's a Git or something that gonna happen, and then you just adapt to it, and then like, but whatever works right now, you should go with it. So, are there any recommendation? I would say, like, what was the recommendation? Git flow or Git release, or what are the recommendation strategies that you would suggest?
Yes, I really like trunk-based development branch and merge strategy. And the
Okay.
reason for trunk-based, it's because it's only one trunk, one branch, and
Mm,
all you're doing just a branch and merge to the master. So you
yeah.
only have master, but for trunk-based, it require I will mature team and really
Mm,
very good teams that they understand exactly what they are doing. They are very talented, very the testing is really like but if you don't have this team which is really very cohesive and like they are really working very it will be difficult because you can't test well, you will have many issues because you don't have many branches.
mm,
So again, it's depend on your cadence, your teams, your release, your testing, all of that. This will impact the choice. So I think my recommendation will be always look at all other strategies like the release and the testing, how you would like. Also, the capabilities of your team, if your team is really mature and they are really understanding the version control very well, or they just still struggling.
mm,
For example, I will not recommend trunk based with people that still struggling in development.
yeah.
And also, when you work especially with trunk based development, you usually work with feature toggle or feature flag,
Mm,
because in this case, if you have a bug, you can switch off this feature. And this is what we call the silent
mm,
deployment, because
yeah.
you may deploy the feature, it is still inside, but it will not be released because you will switch off because it has a bug, you
Mm,
know. But again, having the feature flag in the same branch and merge or trunk base, it requires a lot of maturity and very very well organized team and capability.
exactly. So, speaking about feature flags and all that stuff, like, I mean, there are different philosophies of feature flags too. I've seen one is using like the config file to store the feature flag, and one is actually using the database until they're happy with it. The feature is in the code, but it's not on until
Yeah,
they actually certain time that actually turn, if the application uses a database, then they actually turn it on so that they could actually use it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, and for me, it is both of them is the same, working the same. I mean, in the end, you either saving the feature, I will say the feature decision in the
Mhm.
config file, which will be accessed. It could be, by the way, UI. I mean,
Yeah.
this feature flag is not on the application side,
Yeah.
but on the UI side.
Yeah.
And you can save it in a config file, will be on the server that takes this decision, or it could be saved that in the database, which will be on the application side or on the API side. It's but it is the same way, or the same thing, which is you are going to save the decision.
Mhm.
Either you are turning on or off this feature or this story based on maybe it has a bug, maybe
Yeah.
it is not completed yet, or if you're working with what we call progressive exposure, like you
Mhm.
have several rings, like this is a canary user, this is like this is the first ring, the second ring.
Yeah. Mhm.
You would like to deploy that because, and this is when you work with progressive exposure, you can't work if you don't have a feature flag. um,
Exactly. Mhm.
yes, and this is why feature flag is very compatible with trunk based development, because in this case I can, if I have a bug in the story, I don't care because I can just switch off.
Mhm.
But if you working, for example, with a bug, and you don't have a feature flag, let's say GitFlow,
Yeah.
and you don't have a feature flag, if you have a bug, a critical bug in the release, you can't release, which means that you will delay your release. If you have
Exactly.
a day, how you can release without fixing the bug? You can't.
Mm. Yeah. Exactly.
But
I
yeah,
feel like I feel like we could go on and talk about Git flows and all these different features and stuff. Now I wanted to
exactly.
pull you back a little bit and say, what are the call for actions for our audience today?
Yeah, yes, they can start looking at some of, I have more than 400 videos on YouTube. I
Hmm.
have written several blog posts about merging, branching, what is the best practices for GitFlow. If they just write my name, Mohamed Radwan, with DevOps, I think
Yeah,
they will find a lot of,
sure.
yeah,
We'll also share your YouTube channel underneath as a link too. So you, any resources or your blog and your Twitter, we'll all share all that information.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Radwan, thank you so much. This was like very fruitful. Learned a lot from the Git flows and all the Git related stuff. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Taswan, for having me. And really, really, it was pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you, Radwan. Take
Thank you.
care.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.